Next on 7 News at noon.
Breaking news: a Massachusetts teen will stand trial charged with manslaughter. Prosecutors say she encouraged her friend to commit suicide. We have the breaking details.
Also breaking, there is a new threat from al-Qaeda to attack America. How it's tied to the Boston Marathon bomber Jahar Tsarnaev.
Troubling tows: a tow truck driver facing charges in court. What he allegedly said to 2 different women.
There's a Clinton campaign controversy now. The uproar over a meeting between Bill Clinton and the Attorney General.
Before we get to the holiday weekend, we'll be tracking some showers, downpours, and even some strong storms this evening. We'll run through the timeline.
All that and much more
coming your way next at noon.
This is 7 News at noon.
Breaking news at noon: a Massachusetts Supreme Court ruling in the case of Michelle Carter. She can be prosecuted in connection with a friend's suicide. The Supreme Judicial Court denying an appeal to dismiss her indictment on manslaughter.
Some big developments here this noon. Prosecutors say that she texted her friend last summer telling him to kill himself. 7's Jonathan Hall joining us live now from the breaking news desk with the very latest. John.
Hey guys, we've been going over this ruling. It's hot off the presses. This unanimous ruling, a victory for prosecutors and a big defeat for Michelle Carter and her lawyer. The Supreme Judicial Court acknowledges this is the very first time it has considered the merits of a manslaughter case where the defendant used words alone. Today, the state's highest court says Michelle Carter should stand trial for involuntary manslaughter after she allegedly urged her friend Conrad Roy to commit suicide, both via text messages and cell phone conversations. Roy, who was 18 and suffered from depression, got in his grandfather's pickup truck and started a gas-powered water pump so he could die from carbon monoxide poisoning nearly 2 years ago. The truck was parked near a Kmart in Fairhaven. It appeared to be suicide, but then police analyzed cell phone messages and found Roy had second thoughts about killing himself. In one text, police say the then 17-year-old Carter told Roy to get back in the truck. A juvenile court denied a defense claim that this was protected speech and that Carter couldn't have committed involuntary manslaughter under Massachusetts law because she was not present with the victim. Carter claims a grand jury indictment should be tossed out, but a single justice on the high court disagreed, and today the full SJC sided with the lower court. Its decision says, quote, "We have never required in the return of an indictment for involuntary manslaughter that a defendant commit a physical act in perpetrating a victim's death." The Bristol County DA recused himself from this case because he's a relative of Conrad Roy's grandmother. His office did release a statement saying it appreciates the court's thorough review of the case and will continue to prepare for the trial. Live in the newsroom, Jonathan Hall, 7 News.
Also breaking: al-Qaeda's leader Ayman al-Zawahiri is threatening America. He took command of al-Qaeda after Osama bin Laden was killed in 2011. And an online video, al-Zawahiri says he will attack the U.S. if Boston Marathon bomber Jahar Tsarnaev is executed. Tsarnaev was sentenced to death by lethal injection last year for the 2013 marathon bombing that killed 3 people and injured more than 260 others.
Switching gears now to our forecast, and we could be in for some wild weather before the end of the day. This is a live look at the radar, and nothing to be concerned with at this moment, but there could be some nasty weather headed our way from the west, hitting Ohio and New York first. But we could certainly see some of those storms tonight, so we need to be prepared.
Yeah, not exactly the ideal start to the holiday weekend. Bree Eggers is here now with more. I guess better to get it out of the way right now, though, right?
That's right. Just a hurdle that we have to jump over before we get to the holiday weekend, which does look fantastic. Right now, quite hot into the mid-80s, including the city of Boston, 79 in Worcester. But the clouds are thickening in, as you can see from satellite and radar composite. And then look to our south, some thunderstorms moving across Long Island and up near the islands, as well as Buzzards Bay. Within the next few hours, if these cells hold together, we could see showers and thunderstorms in that area before the afternoon really gets in full force. Now, as we head into the afternoon and evening hours, really, it gets muggier and muggier. So the humidity creeping back in, setting the stage for this front to help add that extra ingredient to give storms an oomph as we get into this evening. So running through the timeline here, and this is your high resolution radar model, you can see as we get into about 6 o'clock this evening, pushing some of those stronger storm cells into the Berkshires. This line, as it tends to happen, tracking farther to the east, does tend to weaken. However, if these cells hold together, they could prove to be some strong and isolated severe thunderstorms that we're really under the threat of until about 1 a.m., 2 a.m. overnight tonight. And the SPC, Storm Prediction Center from the National Weather Service, has issued a slight risk for severe weather criteria. The main threats being gusty, damaging winds, also heavy rainfall causing for ponding on the roads and also some urban flooding, as well as hail. Very slight risk for tornado. It's just worth mentioning, but it's not something we really anticipate. So we have to be weather aware as we head into this afternoon and specifically into this evening. We'll get to more details on this and take a look at that holiday weekend forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
New at noon, a tow truck driver appearing in court facing charges that he sexually harassed female customers. A 37-year-old driver for Perfection Towing arrested after two women came forward with their complaints. They say he made these repeated unwanted sexual comments while driving. 7's Byron Barnett live now in Framingham with the very latest. Byron.
Yeah, this is a tow truck driver who tows cars for the state police. He's accused of making sexual comments, inappropriate sexual comments to women whose cars he was towing and asking at least one of them for sex. Now, 37-year-old Matthew Walsh of Nashua, New Hampshire, shown here in court, charged with 2 counts of accosting or annoying a person of the opposite sex. Police say he made repeated inappropriate sexual comments to 2 women who were riding in his truck while he towed their cars. Now, Walsh was working for Perfection Towing. That company is used by the state police, and the state police called that company to have these cars towed. State police say they have since suspended their contract with Perfection Towing.
One of the named victims reached out to state police to report inappropriate behavior from a truck driver who was later identified as the defendant before you today. In the course of a tow, it's alleged that the defendant sexually propositioned that passenger. Police then investigated other tows conducted by this defendant to ascertain whether there had been any similar incidents. They did determine there had been one similar incident, charged that as well. That's another named victim.
Now, Walsh was released on $500 cash bail, and he was been ordered to stay away from the alleged victims. He's been fired from his job at Perfection Towing, and police are continuing to question other women whose cars he towed and who apparently rode in his truck as well. So that's the latest live from Framingham District Court. I'm Byron Barnett, 7 News.
An Illinois man is indicted in Springfield, accused of exploiting young boys through online video games. According to court documents, in 2010, the 31-year-old used interactive video games like Xbox and Minecraft to communicate with at least 8 boys between 10 and 13 years old. 2 of the boys were 13-year-olds in Hampshire County, Massachusetts. Sawyer allegedly asked one to send him nude photographs, and when the boy refused, Sawyer threatened to kill him. Sawyer faces 15 to 30 years in prison. A dog in Lowell is recovering after it was dragged by a van. Police say the dog's owner, 60-year-old Timothy Nicholas, tied Buddy to his van at the park. They say Nicholas claims he forgot the dog was tied up when he started driving away. Witnesses told police Buddy started running alongside the van but then fell. That's when they called 911. Nicholas is charged with animal cruelty.
Thousands of turkeys killed by a raging fire at a family farm in Lancaster. The turkeys were being raised for Thanksgiving dinners. Today, fire crews will be back on the scene trying to figure out what set off those flames while the family tries to cope with this serious blow to their livelihood. 7's John Coco has the very latest.
It's traumatic. It's traumatic for everyone.
Bob's Turkey Farm picking up the pieces Friday morning after a massive fire ripped through a barn, killing 7,000 baby turkeys.
It's a loss of animals, it's a loss of emotions, it's a loss of product, it's just an overall loss that I'm not sure that can be recovered.
The birds were slated for next Thanksgiving. 2,600 just hatched. They can't be replaced in time for this season.
All of the turkeys that were in there were between a day and 3 weeks old. And you're talking a small turkey. You're talking something that fits in the palm of your hand.
A lot of the equipment that burned is from 1954 when the farm opened and will be very expensive for this small family farm to replace.
I don't know how we'll recover. I don't know what's going to happen.
Losses that could have been much worse if not for firefighters from several towns who worked to make sure the flames didn't spread.
We really concentrated when we got here was protecting the other 2 barns with turkeys in them.
Amongst this mess of metal and burnt wood, Bob's Farm says they do have hope in the people that have supported them for decades now.
Honestly, if there's a silver lining in it all, it's just a sense of community. It's beautiful.
And so no people were injured here. The focus now is to keep the turkeys that survived safe. In Lancaster, John Coco, 7 News.
Happening today, you might want to check the balance on your Charlie card. Tea prices are going up today. Some tickets will be a few cents more, but if you're a monthly rider, you could see a bigger change. Here's a breakdown of the increases. Individual rides on buses and subways increased by only 10 to 15 cents. Paying by Charlie tickets now cost between 10 to 25 cents more. Monthly subway passes increased by $9.50. The prices differ for monthly commuter rail passes. In the race for the White House, controversy for the Clinton campaign, a meeting between former President Bill Clinton and Attorney General Loretta Lynch. The two met at the Phoenix airport this week and spoke for about 30 minutes.
The problem is with the Justice Department looking into Hillary Clinton's use of private email servers, the meeting is causing quite an uproar.
The former president in Phoenix campaigning for his wife, the attorney general visiting local police, but it was a 30-minute meeting on her government plane when they crossed paths at the airport that's causing controversy.
I actually thought they were joking. I thought the people that told me was, I said, no way. It's just no way that's going to happen. And it happened. And I'm flabbergasted by it. I think it's amazing.
Judicial Watch, the group that sued for Hillary Clinton's emails, is demanding an investigation. Lynch calling it a social chat about golf and grandchildren.
There was no discussion of any matter pending before the department. There was no discussion of Benghazi, no discussion of the State Department emails by way of example.
Even some Democrats expressing uneasiness about the meeting. Former Obama advisor David Axelrod tweeting, "I take Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton at their word that their convo in Phoenix didn't touch on probe, but foolish to create such optics." Although others, Senator Cory Booker and Chuck Schumer, defending Lynch, the president not commenting when asked.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump also courting controversy with a crack about Mexico while blasting free trade deals. Hearing a plane overhead during his remarks, he quipped,
In fact, that could be a Mexican plane up there. They're getting ready to attack.
And NBC News has confirmed that both New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and former House Speaker Newt Gingrich are being vetted as possible Trump running mates. This is NBC's new battleground map showing Clinton maintaining an edge over Trump. Florida moving from a toss-up 2 months ago to now leaning Democratic. On the downside for Clinton, Nevada and Pennsylvania, formerly leaning her way, are now both toss-ups.
As Donald Trump moves toward picking his vice presidential choice, the Clinton campaign is now dealing with the self-inflicted wounds of the blow-up over that email investigation.
Coming up on 7 News at noon, soaking Sin City, heavy rain leading to some serious flooding in Las Vegas.
It is monsoon season there, and we're in for some storms tonight. I know there's a lot of outdoor activities. You'll want to see the timelines so you can plan ahead. All the details coming up next.
First up, it is the holiday weekend and final preps for Boston's 4th fireworks being loaded onto the barge in the Charles River. We'll be right back.